As an Etsy seller, it's almost never too early to start planning for the holidays. Sales begin ramping up in October, so it's smart to have your listings teed up in September and your materials stocked up even before that. Today we cover some key things you'll want to know about holiday prep for your shop.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Jade.
I'm Gordon.
I'm Richie, and this is The Jam with Team Marmalade. So what is Marmalade? Is it a set of tools? Is it a resource? Is it education? Yes. Yes, it is. It's all of those. Marmalade helps you grow your sales with real shopper keywords. We use machine learning to take the guesswork out of getting found on Etsy. So if you have an Etsy shop and you want your listings to be found first by shoppers, you want them to show up in the right places where shoppers have an opportunity to buy them, then you want Marmalade. You want the keywords we have, and you want the education and the community around Marmalade to help you get there. Now you can check out Marmalade at marmalade.com, and that is marmalead.com. See you there.
All right, so what are we talking about today, Jade?
Well, today we are tackling holiday planning and thinking ahead about the holidays. So normally we recommend planning ahead at least 3 months for anything, not just the holidays, but really thinking ahead, making sure you have a solid plan for whatever that is in your shop. It might be wedding season, and so you might be planning ahead in January or February. But in general, the holidays are when the busyness really starts to amp up for Etsy sellers. And now is the time to start thinking about that and what the holidays will look like for you and your shop. And we just want to chat through some recommendations with prepping for the holidays, making sure you have a solid strategy in place so that you feel prepared and confident to tackle the craziness of the holidays that are going to be coming up here pretty soon, which is crazy that it's already here and we're already talking about it. But
so is there like a specific month when we start rolling into the holiday season where, you know, you need to really start diving in? Is there...
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in August is when you really should be thinking ahead at least. So you'll be ready to think about making some moves, some solid moves when September rolls around, because September is kind of go time to start really taking some steps forward, starting to, just think about exactly what you're wanting to do. And by September, you should definitely have a plan in place to prepare your shop for having an awesome holiday season. And the bonus is the plan will also alleviate stress because you planned ahead, and the holidays can be stressful.
So basically in August, you're like putting together a plan, and by September, you're need to be starting to implement that plan.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. So like, and I guess you would need to take into account your process, like how long it takes to create things.
All of it. Yeah. And we're going to cover all that. So your process, what it looks like to create your products, inventory, like all those things you need to start thinking ahead about and not be caught unaware when you're all of a sudden in a crazy time. So there are several points we want to remind you of in order to help you start the strategizing process for all of that. And if you're a new Etsy seller and you haven't experienced selling during the holidays yet, now is kind of the time to buckle up, because it can be pretty busy if you are like a traditional seller going into a traditional holiday season and not, a seller that has a different time of the year that's busier for you. And so we just kind of want to run through a few things. You can use it as a checklist of things to think about before you're thrown into the deep end if you are a new seller. And if you're a seasoned seller, these are some great reminders to think about. I think that kind of the further along you get, at least for me, if I've been doing something for a long time, I can kind of get lax in what I do. So this is just can be your jump to remember, like, hey, I don't want to be caught unaware on maybe this one thing that I was last year. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what we want to remind you of. So have anything to add, guys?
I was just going to say it's kind of nice, with the August, September timeframe.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like Christmas because the kids are going back to school and then you kind of got the house to yourself. So
for sure. That's definitely, I think for a lot of people, they probably feel that way. But it is true that about September to November, that's when you're really starting to need to take steps. Think about, the fact that if you sell something that's pumpkin themed, that decor actually spikes a lot during that time. And then you've got Halloween, which will be coming up pretty quickly at the end of October. So you want to make sure your keywords are ready to go for that. So you want to go ahead and start brainstorming some keywords for Halloween and then Thanksgiving that you'll want to use.
Remember, September hits and pumpkin spice takes over the world. You can't buy Cheerios without pumpkin spice. You can't buy coffee without
all
pumpkin
the
spice.
things.
Yeah, pumpkin spice life happens. So just be ready for that.
Well, yeah, and then that is actually a really good point because autumn in general kind of changes everything around. There are so many different products that, you know, if you're in that autumn crowd, you need to start thinking about what you're doing with your SEO for those.
And people get genuinely excited about it. I mean, I know that autumn isn't a specific holiday, but you can't imagine, like, I know you all know this. Check out your social media feeds come the beginning of September, and people are all like flanneled up. They got a scarf, even though it's 72 degrees outside. They're wearing like,
yeah, if you're in the South, you're
oh
like,
my word,
it's 70. Put on your scarf and your boots and get your pumpkin spice latte. You might die from the heat, but
people are pumped
autumn.
for that. So they're looking like they're using those keywords.
Yes.
It is in and of itself its own little trend. And so definitely if you have any kind of product that you can bend towards that or plan for that, don't miss out on that, you know, pumpkin spice life, y'all.
That's a really good point. As far as going back to school and whatnot, you know, so going back to school, I feel like maybe it's because my kids are so young, but it always seemed like that kind of sneaks up on you. You go back to school, you get some structure going on again. Next thing you know, it's autumn. And like you guys are saying, it is a happy time pretty much all over the place, all over the country, north or south, because in the South, you just got out of the really hot summer and it's cooled down a little bit, but it's not cold. And also up north, summer's over, but people like leaves changing, like you said, flannels, stuff like that. And there's no snow yet. Right. Once you get into winter, there's the snow, there's shoveling driveways and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
But it's almost like autumn just kind of sneaks up. You get into a routine, all of a sudden autumn's here. And next thing you know, I feel like as soon as you hit Halloween, then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas, then it's New Year's. And then after New Year's, you're like, it's March. What happened to the first quarter of the year?
Yeah.
What happened to all my resolutions?
what happened to all that?
And guys, it all starts with your pumpkin spice. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah,
It
first
does.
one, you're going to blink and it'll be over. Yeah, I think, you know, that's so true, Richie. All of those things. And especially for Etsy sellers that are hitting a really busy time, it's a blink of an eye. And all of a sudden you're in the middle of it and then it's over.
So, I mean, kind of going to what Richie said and what we're all saying is, it all goes so fast. Maybe it would be helpful to basically have a list of these holidays, even though it seems like you aren't going to miss them and like it's obvious. They kind of tend to sneak up on you.
Well, and they do because if you are trying to be diligent and plan ahead, you have to think about, okay, I have this many weeks until this. I have this many weeks until this holiday. When do I want to start switching things over? And then remembering that of course translates into all of your SEO. You don't want to leave your pumpkin SEO keywords for New Year's or Christmas. You need so it's a pretty fast turnover once you get into the actual holidays hitting boom, boom, boom so fast.
Which makes sense why you should be starting in October to like create lists of keywords that are going to work for you so that you just already have them ready to go and ready to sort of just translate over into your listings and get things switched out.
And when do we recommend that people start doing that? So if we're in August right now, when would you recommend, guys, I think to switch that over?
Doing some of that planning, like you were saying, in August and having those lists to go, and then.
But when you actually apply them, how far ahead would you guys recommend?
So one of the things you want to keep in mind with timing is at some point Etsy is going to start, you know, advertising for a certain holiday or something like that. They're going to be sending out emails and trying to get shoppers thinking of it ahead of time. And that's going to be anytime from 2 to 4 weeks before the actual event, right? Like they know there's a lead time for sellers to actually make things and ship them and get them to people. And so they really want to get shoppers in there so that they can have stuff in time for these holidays. And it's going to depend. It depends on what the holiday is and what the shopping volume looks like and the keywords and all that kind of stuff. So you really want to make sure your listings are teed up before Etsy starts pushing a holiday. Now, you don't want to get too far ahead of that, right? Because if no one's really like amped up for it yet and it's sitting there for 4 weeks with Halloween themed stuff on it, and people are like, well, what are you talking about? We're not nowhere near Halloween yet. You're not doing yourself any good there either. But as soon as Etsy's sending out a newsletter that's getting people like, look, Halloween stuff, like, look, pumpkin spice stuff.
Yeah.
You really want to have your stuff ready to go right then, because that's pulling shoppers in and setting them in the mindset for whatever that holiday is.
And this is an area where that engagement over time tool that we have can actually be really helpful for you, because you can go back and look at keywords and see when that engagement really picked up for a keyword and use that as sort of like a measurement for when it would be a good time to transition into that keyword.
Yes.
100%.
That's what I was going to say. It really depends on the holiday or what the event is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then take a look at that, exactly, the engagement over time,
Mm-hmm.
see when it is, and try to be on the early side of that so that you can get the early
Mm-hmm.
success and ride that through the holidays. And like
Mm-hmm.
Gordon was saying, as far as when that newsletter comes out, if that newsletter comes out and it's one that actually features some shop listings in there, if you've waited until seeing that to kick into gear for it, well, you've missed the opportunity, the possibility, granted it's a small possibility, to actually get in one of those, given there are a lot of sellers and those newsletters don't have a ton. But if you're someone that wants to get in more newsletters, not just the Etsy one, but for other people that pick them up, because I know that
Mm-hmm.
people are going to be doing a ton of pinning on Pinterest with it and a lot of different sharing. People that aggregate that kind of stuff for content, they're going to be going to Etsy and picking stuff up, and they're going to be putting out those, but they're working on them ahead of that.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, kind of along the same lines, as Etsy starts to advertise for the upcoming holidays, you also need to be doing that on your own. You need to start doing, something like teasers for upcoming holiday collections. If you're planning that, or you're planning to release something new, begin to drip those to your audience. This is also a really great opportunity to make use of your shop updates.
Mm-hmm.
You want to definitely show, show behind the scenes pictures, be human in that. And really, this is a great opportunity to connect with your audience, because we have said this time and time again, but if you make a connection with your buyers, they're going to come back to you. They're going to look to see, hey, what are they doing for the holiday season? What's going on in their shop? I'm going to go check it out. So don't miss that opportunity.
Yeah, people love to see that. They love to see that you're active in your shop. They love to see sort of the life of your shop, basically, that you're a person in there, riding out the holidays with them. You're, a family or maybe single shop owner, however it works, that you're going through the holidays too. You're excited about it. It's sort of a way to share this with the audiences that you're targeting. And so I do think those behind the scenes pics and stuff are kind of crucial. They're a crucial way to connect in an e-commerce environment. And the other side to that is, when the holiday is over, it's not a good look if you just leave your Christmas pictures up for,
please don't.
Yeah,
do that.
It's like, when you drive past those people who have left it's like
their Christmas lights are up.
It's
until
June
March.
and their Christmas, even it's March and their Christmas lights are still up.
Stop it.
Yeah, so don't leave your Christmas banners up and your Christmas process photos and stuff. Be a part of it. Yeah, make sure that you're switching it out and that you're riding the same wave that your target audiences are riding, and that you're not just sort of like, well, Christmas is over, I'm done updating anything now.
Yeah, you want to keep it moving forward, especially when things start to slow down. You want to keep up that momentum, because that's going to keep interest in your shop.
Yes, even if you're taking a break after the holidays, please take down the holiday messaging that process times are extended because of the holiday coming up, et cetera, like cutoff times, all that. Put all your messaging going forward. Make it look occupied, basically.
Definitely. Yeah, totally agree. And along those same lines of kind of going back to, making sure that you're communicating what you're doing and that you're busy and, starting to advertise, would be not to forget about social media and connecting with the established network of your old customers as well. This is a great opportunity to make use of Instagram, make use of TikTok. I actually just found an Etsy seller who I didn't know was an Etsy seller, because she's hilarious on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And she's posting she's from Canada, and she's posting these amazing TikTok videos that are just so funny. I was relating to her so much, and then realized, I was like, wait a second, where's she making this stuff? Where's she selling this? She's an Etsy seller. So what did I do? I went straight to her Etsy shop to see if I could what I could buy.
Yeah.
And I made a connection with her, and now I'm like really invested in her story. So it's it's a great opportunity. Don't miss out on the fact that if you have a following on social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever it is, wherever your audience is active, make sure that you're communicating what you're doing in your shop as well for the holidays.
Yeah, if you have a mailing list, it's a perfect time to send something out to that too.
Yeah,
100%.
for sure.
Let me jump in real quick to let you know that if you're enjoying this podcast, you should definitely check out our free 3-part mini-series about Etsy SEO. It's designed to take you from what is Etsy SEO to an example of an efficient Marmalead workflow. Check it out at marmalead.com/jam2020.
That's such a great example of the Etsy experience, though. I mean,
Yeah,
it gets
and
we talk about it a lot, about how it's different than like a big box store, but
Yeah.
you don't typically see this commercial that just melts your heart for toothpaste, and then you're walking down, you're like, oh man, I need that. Like, I need some Colgate
Yeah.
now. I'm totally switching from Crest.
Right. It's very true.
It is true. You have like more opportunity to connect with the actual story of a place. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think we already touched on this, but just making sure that, you're preparing your visuals, that banner, like we said, don't leave it up, but get it ready to go. And then, you need to start to brainstorm your backgrounds. Like, what are you going to use? What are those props going to be? Make sure that they're not competing with what you're actually selling. We've talked about that before in other jams and blog posts and stuff. But, go ahead now and start, maybe taking some pictures ahead of time, see what is resonating with people, show it to friends and family, see what they like. You just want to make sure that every aspect you're thinking through, because it's really going to help you and your stress level, that you're not trying to figure all of that out when you're in the middle of being really busy.
Yeah, especially with the visuals, that can be really helpful, right? I mean, there's not much that's greater than walking into the mall and seeing it covered in all the Christmas stuff, and it kind of puts you into that Christmas spirit. And I know a lot of folks tend to think, oh, I just put some Christmas keywords on my listings and it'll be good. But the visual, especially in an e-commerce setting, is so, so important. So, at least for a thumbnail or whatever, if you can do this to kind of incorporate that Christmas feeling or whatever holiday it is, into the listing, to give your buyer that same, kind of sentimental visual experience. Give that to them.
Yeah.
Definitely make that a part of it. I know I hear a little too often that people are like, well, I targeted some Christmas keywords, and yeah, that might have brought you up in the results. But if it's your shop that just targeted a Christmas keyword and listing, but the listing thumbnail really hasn't changed, it really doesn't show anything, your shop really isn't set up for the holidays, or someone else's shop who kind of is jumping off the page because their thumbnail is awesome and it has a super holiday-y vibe, and then you get into their shop and they're obviously jazzed about the holidays, that's probably going to be the shop that gets the conversion, because it's telling the story and it's in the Christmas magic or whatever holiday it happens to be. So don't go lightly on your imaging and stuff like that around holidays.
Yeah, for sure. And then I would say the other thing that I have heard that people do, especially when they're new sellers, is forgetting about kind of looking ahead at your inventory needs, because you definitely do not want to be caught off guard when the holidays hit and you haven't taken into account an increase in sales volume.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a huge stressor if all of a sudden you have 20 orders you've got to fill and you don't have the inventory to do it. So looking ahead, I think, it's hard if you're a new Etsy seller to kind of anticipate, because you don't know. Do you guys have any suggestions for new sellers about that?
Yeah, it's a tough thing to plan out for. I mean, you do the best you can, stock up on as much stuff as you can, and when you run out, you run out. We've talked with Kyle from Cigar Metalworks before specifically about this, and he planned one year for Christmas stuff and was sold out like super early in the season. So he's like, next year, I got my spreadsheet, I'm gonna be all ready. Sells out again that year. So it's one of those things, like, he's been around, he's done this a while, and it's still, it can catch you off guard. I would add too that this holiday season, it's probably not going to be like any other holiday season we've been through.
Yeah.
And so there could be a whole lot more people shopping online this holiday season
Yep.
than in brick and mortar stores. So
Yes.
plan for that too. How you plan for that numbers wise, look, you got me.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really knows what to expect.
I mean, if the big stores could figure it out, they wouldn't be clearancing stuff out at the end of the holidays, right? So a month
Yeah.
later, there's a bunch of stuff on clearance because even they can't figure it out.
Yep.
One of the things I would say for it is if it's something that you can only sell during this time, like that's the stuff that gets clearanced out of the big box stores. If it's something that's only going to be relevant for the holidays, you got to be a little bit more careful about overstocking because you
Yeah.
don't want to be stuck with that as, a smaller seller. But if it's stuff that you are going to keep selling and it's just there's a bigger peak of that same stuff that you're selling throughout the year, then you can load up more on that inventory as long as you're going to be using those supplies and whatnot, and it's not going to be a waste.
Yeah, for sure. And I think along with thinking ahead about the inventory and getting stocked up on that is not forgetting to also stock up on what you're going to need shipping wise.
Oh man, yeah, and especially right now where things, with shipping are a little bit tweaked, that's definitely a good point to make. Make sure that you have those things lined up, that you've got stock for not just creating your product, but for shipping your product. So 100%, that's a good point.
And something that maybe you want to go ahead and think about going ahead and purchasing now, because it could be that we hit a time in a couple months where if things like you said, Gordon, are going to be a lot different and a lot more people are going to be shopping online, who knows, you may hit a shortage or, it might be harder to get stuff to ship with. So I think, if you're constantly shipping anyway, stocking up on that stuff, you're going to use it.
Mhm.
So why not go ahead and just, get a little extra so that you've got it and you're ready to go as much as you can be. Obviously, nothing's going to be perfect, but.
And you probably want to go ahead and get your shipping policies into place too. You want to, take into account that there might be delays in shipping, have a good plan in your head about when you're going to stop orders so that you can get everything fulfilled in time. Basically, just make sure that your policies and your plans around shipping and shipping times are going to be in place as you head into the holidays.
For sure. And I think to reiterate, you're not going to do it perfectly. Nobody can. But time is your biggest tool for making sure you're ready for the holidays. So if you begin to plan ahead and work on these reminders that we've talked about now, it will remove a ton of stress and hopefully you will go into the holidays feeling more confident to tackle that. But I would say for sure, don't beat yourself up. It's a different year for sure.
Mhm.
But, just thinking ahead as much as you can and planning as best you can is going to be the best bet.
Yeah, and go in with a learning mindset.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna at least come out of this with more knowledge than you had going into it, and that's something you can apply in future years. So just kind of go into it with the right mindset and don't expect, like Jade's saying, to do everything perfectly.